everyone, welcome back to PSA, which stands for People Speak About. And yes, there is a pun intended there because it is a podcast to give them the opportunity to make a public service announcement, just in a little bit of a different way. Today I have with me Connor Chaparro. Hi, Connor.
Hey, Caroline, it's good to be here.
Glad you could make it. So today the topic of conversation is the educational system. Nowadays, many people question what should be a part of our educational system, which is an extremely important question to ask. It is, after all, what will drive our future. So, I am here with Connor Chaparro, a dance advocate and dance major at the University of Memphis, and he is going to talk to us about one thing he thinks has been missing from many schools around the nation. Go ahead and tell them.
Dance.
So, why dance? The way I'm going to structure this is by asking you questions, and you just answer the questions the best way you can to help drive home the point of the importance of the integration of dance into our education system. So let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, why would dance be important as part of education, and what is learned that can be transferred into other disciplines?
So, dance not only allows a student to grow in other aspects of their education and personal growth, but it also allows them to be a better student by finding ways to think outside the box. So, when you dance, you encounter difficulties that you would never experience in, let's say, a history or a math class. With that being said, when you do encounter those issues, you have to learn a completely out-of-the-box way to solve whatever difficulty that comes your way, thus creating a well-rounded problem solver. In addition, dancers are actually able to learn better through dance. For example, if a teacher wants to teach about cell structure, when a dance is incorporated rather than words or a PowerPoint, your brain is actually able to process it in a visual way that makes more sense. Big words can confuse more so than no words.
It's kind of like Kevin in The Office when he says, "Why say lot word when few word do trick?"
Okay, good point, Kevin.
Alright, so next question. How is dance used as a tool for building cognitive skills of problem solving and critical thinking?
Well, when a dancer is asked to perform a movement, they are required to have better forms of motor function than if someone were to, let's say, just run. Now, running is a great exercise, and even dancers should include it in their training. However, it does not challenge people nearly to the extent to a dancer, having to work on their balance and improving the part of the brain that deals with coordination or movement and balance, which is the cerebellum. In addition to all of this, it requires a great deal of proprioception, or that's actually the ability to know your body position in space. This is very useful because for even the smallest movement, dancers can easily feel a difference in the space. They have to be able to tell if they are leaning to the left and knowing how far they are from the door that they came in, and when they're moving to the right and knowing how much further they move away from the door. Does that make sense? Another example of the importance of proprioception is something as small as washing your hair. With your eyes closed, because you don't want to get soap in them, obviously, you have to know where your head is and therefore your hair. Obviously, it isn't super difficult to find your hair, so that's a smaller example. But another more relevant and important example that will affect your life, especially when you start getting a little older and walking up and down stairs, is you might not even know the relation between your foot and the next step. So you could be in a fall greater than, Humpty Dumpty or something. That can obviously lead to serious injuries. So proprioception is very important, and dancers improve that every time they dance. So dancing can literally help you be a safer person. You don't want to fall, do you?
No, Connor. I don't think anyone wants to fall. Moving on to another question. How does dance support the whole person? Cognitive, affective, emotional, social, and physical.
Funny you should ask. I actually just took a psychology class this semester, and I will be referring to what they consider the biopsychosocial approach for this question. So, biologically speaking, we can talk about the physical demands required of dance that improve physical health. Dancing is one of the most physically exerting activities that exists, in my opinion, and I feel like any dancer would agree with me. And any dancer can tell you that it requires some form of strength, flexibility, and stamina to perform any type of dance, whether it's hip hop or jazz or ballet or whatever it is. Not only does this improve cognitive and brain function, this also actually improves cardiovascular strength and respiratory capacity, muscular exertion over periods of time. Dancing a 10-minute piece was 10 times harder for me than running 3 miles. It does way more to my body than I thought it would. For example, this will actually lead me to my psychological point. Exercise releases endorphins, which are chemicals that make you feel better, relieve stress, and give you a sensation of accomplishment. Now, yes, any exercise does this, but dance, no doubt, helps people find a way to cope with things like figuring out self-identity, economic hardships, racism in their personal lives, and so much more. They find an expressive outlet for these things, which can not only give them peace of mind that they are doing what they can through an active form of movement, but they are not being counterproductive by causing crimes or injuring themselves as a way of feeling something, you know? Which finally leads me to my aspect of socially being important. It is a great way to understand other cultures, which I will talk about later, and society and how it portrays body image, sexuality and gender, religion, consciousness, love. With such a broad range of things, there is no doubt that dance can open the eyes of so many people in understanding what cultural and social things are happening and should be learned by everyone. This is also a hands-on way to learn it rather than just learning from a textbook. Not everyone learns like that.
Very true. So, how can dance instruction support student-centered learning since it should be about the student?
Good question, actually. Well, let me start off by saying every human, thus every student, is different. We all know this. There's no baffling thought right there, like everybody's different. And therefore, any one way of teaching will cause a block to many children's ability to learn. However, there are three main types that we know of, three types of learning styles, that shouldn't be unheard of. Everybody's heard of them. And they are the visual learners, auditory learners, and the kinesthetic learners. According to Gail Kassing and Danielle J. in their book, Dance Teaching Methods and Curriculum Design, each student relies on one sense as a primary medium, while the other two senses support the primary sense at various times and to different degrees. This basically is saying that students depend on one of these learning styles, whether it be visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, as their primary way of learning information, which it doesn't mean that they don't need the other two, because the other two support the primary one for sure. But all this being said, dance offers a great link to all of these types of learning styles and allows students to flourish with whichever one is more helpful for that individual. So this trumps teaching just by PowerPoints or lecture, because, that only helps with visual and auditory learners. What about the people that need hands-on experience,
Ah, I see. So, integrating dance will give them a segue into understanding what kind of student and learner they actually are. That makes sense. So, maybe we should talk a little bit more about the world now. Cultures and social constructs and stuff like that. So, how is dance a physical expression of culture?
Okay, so dance is literally the epitome of physical cultural expression. Take bachata, for example, a cultural dance that originated in the Dominican Republic. You might not know that specific detail, but you know that it is a Latino dance style, right? And just like when you are trying to better enjoy culture in a community when you go on vacation or something, what do? Usually go and eat their food. Well, dancing is another form of culture just like food is. And you might not have access to their food whenever you come back home, but guess what you do have access to? Dancing. Therefore, learning different types of dances, you are literally learning cultures as if you were going and visiting those cultures. And you can learn a lot from the type of dance that is being done as well. For example, African dances, you can learn about their culture and learn that they communicated with each other through those dances.
Now, aside from that, we also want people that not only understand other people but accept them as well, do we not? So, how can dance teach us to appreciate diversity and encourage tolerance and inclusivity?
Well, especially nowadays, the arts community as a whole is actually very accepting to all people from all different backgrounds from my experience, and I do say nowadays with a strong influence. But they encourage this view of diversity and allow you to find out your own views on social topics. And in addition to this, most of the artistic performances deal with ideas of inclusivity and acceptance and usually contain diverse casts, which is especially true in dance. And according to the book, Adopting Your Roles and Responsibilities for Teaching, one trait dance teachers have strived for is instead of taking the spotlight, be the spotlight to shine one another. This metaphor, it gets me every time. It's so powerful because it just proves the importance of building an appreciation of everyone by allowing others to shine around you while you help them shine. You help them get to that point. Now, what better way to appreciate and encourage diversity is there than that?
Okay, so one more thing then. We have talked about a lot, but I want to talk about community. How can dance build community and support relationship skills in students?
Okay, well, like many other forms of cooperation activities, take sports, for example. The arts have a certain way of requiring a very deep and holistic form of communication. For example, in professional football, you need to have a clear, elaborate plan and elaborate play in order to successfully achieve a touchdown. That's what you want to get to, is a touchdown. With everyone playing willy-nilly, you're not obviously going to get past a structured defense. Now, arts-wise speaking, I have experienced that those students in the arts actually have a very good understanding of how to communicate with each other as well and learn how to deal with problems. And everyone should know that not everyone is going to play a sport, obviously. Not everyone is interested in that. So dance might be a really good alternative. And furthermore, all relationships need to be able to address issues that arise, and communities have to work together to do this. And when dancing, this is one of the most important aspects of creating a dance. How can I portray this message with my movement? That question is constantly being asked during the process of creating a piece, and you need a significant amount of relationship skills to be able to convey your thoughts and emotions and have people understand what you're trying to get at, you know?
Wow, that's really beautiful, Connor. Okay, so there you have it.
Actually, I would like to say one more thing if you have time for like one more minute.
Of course, go ahead.
Thank you. All in all, I just want to say that this is so important in making a difference in a student's educational career. It can literally change the way they view themselves. It can change the way they view the world. It can change the way they view life as a whole. We want critical thinkers. We want expressive doers. We want hopeful believers. Honestly, I think we just want dancers. And as H. Dubler stated in Dance, a Creative Art Experience, no better way of saying this, The inclusion of dance in the general education program is the one means of giving free opportunity to every child for experiencing the contributions it can make to his or her developing personality and growing artistic nature. So, let's continue to be the thing we want to see and incorporate such a beautiful, fundamental part of the education system. Where put dance where it belongs in the education system. And for more information, look at the National Dance Education Organization, or NDEO, website at www.ndeo.com.
Well said, Connor, and thank you again.
No, thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, well, that's all the time we have, but we hope you enjoyed this podcast and learned about the importance of dance. I actually did, and might advocate this myself. I'll leave the link to the website Connor mentioned down below, and I'll see you guys next time on PSA, People Speak About.